Taylor Heinicke, who steps in for Ryan Fitzpatrick, suffered that hip injury last week. Now, Heinicke made some waves last season in the postseason, but he finally gets a chance for a big-time start. And he's going to have an extended period here. That's kind of the root of those comments because Ryan Fitzpatrick reportedly out for 6 to 8 weeks. So this is a huge moment for Heinicke. How do you feel like he's best prepped for it?
I think he's ready, and I expect him to be good. You know, the last time we saw him start a game, as you touched on, he was terrific against Tom Brady and the Bucs. Threw the ball 44 times, completed 26 of those passes for 306 yards and a touchdown. Ran for another touchdown. He had Washington in a one-possession game with the eventual Super Bowl champs. So that was last season. Then he relieved Ryan Fitzpatrick in week 1, was solid/good again, 11 of 15 in the air with a touchdown. His teammates seem to believe in him. The fans love him. So to me, he's probably the most interesting thing in this game tonight. And I think he's going to lead Washington to, if not lead, at least help Washington get its first win of the season.
It's another chapter, or the next chapter, I should say, in an unbelievable story. I mean, Heinicke was on his way out of the league, and then all of a sudden he gets thrust into a starting role a year ago. And now, again, he has this extended period to really build a resume that it can allow him to stand around and stay in professional football for some years to come. So while it's not maybe the sexiest matchup on the Thursday night schedule for this season, there's a lot on the line for both quarterbacks in this one. Sunday Night Football, it has it right down the road here from my backyard at M&T Bank Stadium. It's Kansas City and Baltimore. This is the 4th year in a row that they're meeting up, and there's a lot on the line for Baltimore and Lamar Jackson looking to bounce back off of that Monday Night Football loss in Las Vegas. But Lamar's doing his best to not make this Mahomes versus Jackson. Are you buying that this is not a Jackson versus Mahomes matchup and that the Ravens offense doesn't need to try and go shot for shot with that Chiefs explosive unit?
Well, I don't know that Lamar needs to try to go shot to shot with Patrick Mahomes because he is terrific in different ways, but you're not him. So you can't try to match Mahomes throw for throw, but you do have to score with it. Doesn't really matter how you do it, but you have to do it because if you aren't scoring early, they can run away from you. And if you stop scoring at any point, they'll blow right by you, which is something Cleveland learned in week 1. So perhaps the Sunday night matchup isn't technically about Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes, but it is a high-profile game with 2 former MVPs playing quarterback. So they're going to get most of the attention, whether either one of them likes it or not.
Yeah, I would agree. It's not a matchup of quarterbacks in the sense that they're facing the opposing defense, but this is how we do things. And it would go a long way for Lamar, just outside perspective. He takes a lot of heat for, in my opinion, not really a lot of reason. But if he was able to get a win and the Ravens a win over Kansas City, it would do a lot for the noise that surrounds him. Because despite the 2 fumbles and that loss to Vegas, I thought he looked really good in that game on Monday Night Football. So now it's about backing that up against the Chiefs. And it's going to be all eyes of the NFL on that game Sunday night. There's going to be a lot of attention on this matchup because of the history with Tom Brady and the fact that, Gary, the Falcons looked really bad in week 1.
They did look really bad. I mean, when you just got smoked by the Eagles, the last thing you want to do is travel to Tampa Bay and play Tom Brady and the Bucs. It's not ideal. And when you're at least partly responsible for blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl to Tom Brady, it just makes things even worse. These conversations are unavoidable. You know, a lot of folks are going to get their jokes off this weekend about Atlanta, about Matt Ryan on social media. Tom Brady might be among them. Fairly or unfairly, you know, Matt Ryan and the Falcons are always going to be characters in the Tom Brady story. And what happens this weekend will just be the latest chapter, and it probably won't go well for the team based in Atlanta.
I'm going to put a lot on this game, though, for Atlanta. I had high hopes for them. Arthur Smith coming in, really a believer in him as a head coach. And I think they got plenty of talent. They should be much better than what they showed in week 1. And it doesn't necessarily mean they need to get a win in Tampa. To your point, that's a tall order. They just got to look like they're competitive. They didn't look competitive against an Eagles team that I think will be in the middle, if not the bottom, of the NFC East. Mac Jones played pretty well in week 1 despite the loss and should find some more success, you would think, against a Jets team that's probably not as challenging defensively as Miami.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, as you pointed out, it's the Jets, for crying out loud. If you're not going to have success against them, it's going to be a long season. And I know New England lost in week 1, like you noted, but Mac Jones, he looked the part. 29 of 39, 281 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. So this is going to be a fun matchup of rookie quarterbacks on Sunday. And I do think Mac Jones, the lower picked of the 2 quarterbacks, is going to be the one who exits with a victory.
This is an immensely important game for New England and Mac Jones because it's another division game. You go 0-2 in the division out of the gate. That's a steep hill to climb with a team that's playing with a rookie quarterback and some new pieces that are still finding their way offensively. So all eyes are going to be on the former Alabama quarterback in this one as he goes head-to-head in a lot of ways, as you mentioned, with his fellow rookie from that draft class in Zach Wilson. Jameis Winston was impressive in that Week 1 performance and win over the Green Bay Packers in Jacksonville. You're even dropping some LASIK knowledge in there. Unreal in-depth analysis for Gary Parrish. So can he back it up, that being Jameis Winston, Week 2 here against Carolina?
I think he can. Like, I'm a believer, and I was a believer in the preseason. And then against Green Bay, he did nothing to disappoint. Threw the ball 20 times, completed 14 of those passes. 5 of them resulted in touchdowns. He's got the 4th best passer rating in the NFL through Week 1. Remember, it's a dude who threw a league-high 30 interceptions as a starter back in 2019. But since then, he got LASIK. That does matter, I think. Backed up and learned from Drew Brees. Now he's working with Sean Payton. He really might be a different guy. If you're New Orleans, you have to be thrilled with what you've seen so far. And yeah, I expect Jameis to be good again this weekend against Carolina.
Absolutely. I mean, you think about top overall draft pick, unbelievable in college, and if you even trim that interception total in half and then keep the production on the offensive side, the positive, then you're really in good shape if you're Jameis Winston and the Saints. They're going through so much right now, having to practice on the road. They've had COVID protocol issues throughout the week. So we'll see how that impacts this game. But Jameis looks primed and ready to seize a second wave in his young career. Thursday Night Football kicks off in earnest with the New York Giants in the Washington football team. You've got Daniel Jones and the Giants looking for their first win of the season, as are the Washington football team. So how do you feel about Daniel Jones specifically heading into this one? As you can see, coughed up another one in that loss to the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big opportunity for him on national television, and he's got his hands full with Chase Young on the other side of the ball. You know, Daniel Jones has got a chance to be special someday, I guess, but Chase Young is clearly already there. Just an incredible physical specimen who became last season the youngest player in Washington franchise history to be a Pro Bowler. Now, he was a little marginalized in Week 1 to some degree against the Chargers. Only had 3 tackles, but regardless, you just have to. Whether you're Daniel Jones or anybody on that offensive line, you got to pay so much attention to him because he's uniquely gifted and capable of wrecking basically any play.
It's well said, and it's Chase Young and company when you think about it, Gary. You've got all first-rounders on that defensive front, and they're going to face the New York Giants offensive line that's in flux right now. Reports are they're going to start Billy Price at center for this one and move the former center to left guard. So this is a tough game on a short week to be moving in pieces on that offensive line against that type of defensive front. And this is a big moment, as you said, for Daniel Jones. Let's shift gears to baseball, an area where we really rely on Gary Parrish, especially when I'm hosting this show, to give us some insight. And the Blue Jays, man, they just keep rolling in the AL. Are they a true World Series threat at this point, in your opinion?
They're certainly playing like it. I mean, Toronto is 13-2 in its past 15 games. That includes a sweep of the Athletics, a sweep of the Yankees. They just won 2 of 3 from the first place Rays. So the Blue Jays now have a real chance to host the AL wildcard game. Didn't see that coming just a few weeks ago, but Robbie Ray has been terrific on the mound, 2.64 ERA, beat the Rays yesterday. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is having an MVP season. He's leading the majors in batting average, tied for the lead in home runs. A triple crown is in play. So this is undeniably a really dangerous team. And if they do get to the postseason, Toronto is going to be a tough out for anybody.
The Ravens promoted DEVONTA Freeman to the active roster, still trying to find ways to patch that running group together that's been ravaged by injuries.
Got to have somebody to run the ball, and DeVonta makes about as much sense as anybody else who's available. As you know, the Ravens lost 3 running backs in a span of 3 weeks in the preseason, so they're scrambling and just looking for anybody that can move the ball down the field a little bit.
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, Latavius Murray, Devonta Freeman could be a good group, or just an older group. Kyler Murray, was he snubbed as NFC Player of the Week? Matthew Stafford wins it, but you look at these numbers, there's a pretty big disparity there in that touchdown department.
Yes, but I think you could make the case for Stafford. He was 20 of 26, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. It was a high-profile game, Sunday night game against the Bears. Higher completion percentage than Kyler Murray, more yards, fewer interceptions. So honoring Matthew Stafford, I was not personally offended.
The Stafford hype train is real, and nothing beats a win and a performance on Sunday Night Football.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell for more videos.